Hey everybody, Dylan here. I just wanted to jump in quickly before the episode starts and say that we do discuss the current abuse allegations and stuff that's been going on the last week within the games industry for like the first 15 minutes, but I just wanted to chime in and put forward the important message that I really didn't get to home in, although there's several things I wanted to home in during that discussion. But I just want to say that speaking for everyone at the Explosion Network, we believe any and all survivors. We hear you and we believe you. I just want you to know that. And now to the regularly scheduled episode. Welcome to Arcade Couch, the best place to chill with your friends and get your gaming goodness every Monday. My name's Dylan Blight, and joining me on the couch this week, Ashley Hodler.
Hey Dylan, excited to be here, but don't you feel like E3 is going pretty long this year?
It's going too long.
Maybe a bit too long.
Yeah, it's going a bit too long. Also,
like they probably could have cut like some of the combat from like the first half, maybe.
Also, hear Kieran Marchand.
I like to prepare for E3 by getting the schedule and then waking up early the day beforehand just to get myself prepared for it, just to know I know that I can do it reliably.
I feel like I feel like you need to, because what he's hinting at everyone listening is the fact that he stayed up to 2 a.m. to watch the Cyberpunk stream the day before it was actually supposed to air. But behind the scenes, it's not the first time that Kieran's got something mixed up on a day and or time that's supposed to happen. And I feel like he's at like 2 out of 3 strikes, and at strike 3, I'll be like,
listen,
you gotta sort your shit out, Kieran.
You know what your problem is? You're going to Summer Games Fest to check when all these dates are. You should be going to explosionnetwork.com to find out when all the dates are for Australian times.
Yeah,
excellent resource.
You got me there. I feel like the strikes reset after like 12 to 24 months, though, right? Like, I'm currently back at 1 strike again. Okay, everyone, you can just
I don't feel like it's been 12 or 3 months since you got your first one, to be honest.
No, but I feel like my Overwatch sabbatical really got rid of every one of my discrepancies and misdemeanors from that time period. So,
okay.
Yeah.
You're at least at 1, maybe 1.5 at the current stage. Today on the show, we've got news about new Suicide Squad game coming, maybe new Cyberpunk trailer, as well as a reveal for a brand new Pokemon game that PC nerds would be sure to love, like Kieran. But first, I don't really know what to say with this, but I do feel like it was worth addressing because it's a podcast all about video games, and the video game industry is currently going through a don't know what the proper word for it is. It's like round 2 or 3 at this stage of its own sort of Me Too movement. I mean, but it's not just the video game industry; it's the other thing that's it's everything.
It's been a period of time where people are being encouraged and feel more open to speak about these terrible things that they've been put through in their lives overall. Like it's happened in like the mainstream video game market. It's happened in esports everywhere. It's happened in, Dylan and me follow pro wrestling a lot, and so does Ashley.
Ashley's now at like the bottom of the pro wrestling.
The bottom of the pro wrestling thing. I know. Look at Dylan. That's suffering pretty, like not suffering, but like that's having the same kind of thing happen to it.
Yeah.
And movies, I've seen like both actors as well as movie reviewers, critics type thing has also come up. But so it's like it's happening everywhere. But because so much of mine, and I'm sure others, Twitter's has of course been pretty much non-stop for a week at this point with focus on this. Not saying that in a bad way. I just mean like that's just what's happening.
It's a good thing.
It's facts.
It's facts. It's at the same time you get that feeling of open up social media and you're like, fucking hell, who's done it this time?
Yeah, well, it always happens in the morning because I go to sleep usually or whatever, and then you wake up and, America has just passed between their morning and afternoon time or whatever, and then that's usually where everything's kind of happens. So every morning I've woken up every day this week and been like, all right, what's happened today, and not that I want something to happen, but like, so for instance, we're recording today on, and this may or may not be related. I feel like it's possibly going to end up tangentially related, but wake up today, we're recording on Saturday. Wake up this morning, it's like Dr. Disrespect's banned from Twitter, banned from Twitch Discord removes his partnership. No one's saying why. And of course, the hot theory is that it's maybe related to something super serious. It may or may not be. But at the same time, it's like this stuff. My point is this stuff always happens while we're sleeping. And every time I wake up in the morning, it's like there's something, be it be it the Ubisoft stuff, be it, the things that were happening in the Destiny group of people. Everyone's had this sort of subgroups of their own stand-ups to I hate to say bad eggs, it's not really a proper term for it, but I mean bad eggs plus terrible super people. Bad eggs, terrible people. Yeah, abusive people. Yeah. So
there's just a lot of shitty behavior has been going on for too long, and people are now being able to be empowered to stand up and talk about it. I feel like with Dr. Disrespect, I don't know if we ever find out. Maybe we do in a couple of days' time. Twitch seems to be very tight-lipped on exactly what it is, which makes me think it's even more serious than anything. But the fact that Dr. Disrespect is not just a ban for, whatever, like it's not like just it doesn't have a time limit. It's permanent. It's you're not coming back unless we get really good reason to do so. And I think, we have seen a couple of people been unbanned from Twitch this week with the kind of cataclysmic fall of Mixer, and there was a couple people that went to Mixer after being banned from Twitch, and they're getting their bans reviewed. But for him, I'm interested to see what happens with him, because I think he's been able to hide behind his persona a little bit too much for too long. He has towed the line a little bit more and got away with more than most streamers do, because he can say, well, it's just a persona, it's not actually me, which is, in my opinion, a pretty shitty excuse for any kind of toxic and garbage actions on the internet. But it seems to have run its course now and done its time, and and people saying that, I think I've seen people tweet online, hey guys, Twitch is so screwed now, doing this to Dr. Disrespect, they're so doomed. It's like, hey guys, Shroud and Ninja left 8 months ago, 8 to 10 months ago, both of them left. People are saying exactly the same thing. Twitch is in exactly the same spot, if not better, currently. So, one streamer does not make that platform, and they'll move on and grow. And people who have had their, if you've had your subscription kind of refunded for Dr. Disrespect, maybe use that on a different streamer who, deserves it a little bit more. Not your big ones, but maybe, some more homegrown talent. And if you need just pointing in any direction, feel free to tweet at any one of us, and we'll
make suggestions.
We'll make suggestions of some really good streamers that we believe deserve it. And I know I saw both Dylan and Ashley be like, Kieran, are you using this as a chance to?
I was like, don't say it.
Even I'm not going to touch that one.
I was not going to shield the exposure network. Just then, I was going to say to offer.
Like, if Ash isn't going to say it, then it must be a untouchable subject.
Well, as become a common thread where Ashley says something remotely.
Ash is the barrier pusher.
The barrier pusher. That's the reason I get messages about this podcast lately. It's because Ashley said something.
Yeah.
Say a lot of things. But I don't know. I feel like the Dr. Disrespect one's interesting because a lot of the complaints I've seen this week is Twitch isn't doing anything to deal with any of these abusive people that people
they're starting to. Obviously, one of the bigger ones we've seen removed is Bless RNG, and they've removed his emote as well.
Yeah, they moved his global emote. Yeah, which is pretty big. We also see I can't remember the group's name, but there was a talent agency that looked after a lot of streamers, and their CEO got called out for, I think it's GOP, I want to say, got called out for a lot of abusive actions, and a lot of streamers are leaving that organization completely. So, it's been a week of change for a lot of people, and it's not great to look at. It's uncomfortable for people to read and to see happen. And you know what? It's uncomfortable that it happens to people. And that fucking sucks. And I'm glad that we're getting to a point where people can not move on from it, but at least get some closure for those events happening and not having to feel like they need to sit in the dark a little bit as they have been in the past.
Was you going to say something else, Ash?
No, I think that's a good note to end it on. I feel like hopefully the victims...
I wasn't done. That's fine.
Okay, if you want to continue, I didn't have anything else to add.
Served it up.
I was just going to
hot take.
No hot takes. I was just going to tie it home to obviously I feel like I'm yet to see anyone outed for any sorts of majorly abusive behavior. And I mean like the top end stuff, obviously. That's like close to any of the circles that I'm in or pay attention to, I guess. There's been some like sort of close ones where I'm like, yeah, I know of that person, or like I've seen that person. And you're like, and even then you're like, well, that's a bit weird to see these sorts of people. But inside the Australian group, I so far I'm like, oh,
I feel like there's one that people that we know of.
There's one main one that I know of that got outed for
manipulative bullshit that was quite disgusting, to be perfectly honest.
Well, yeah, there's been some smaller ones and whatever, but there's no one like super close yet for like super high.
Ashley hasn't been outed for anything.
Ashley, yeah.
Don't start that.
But on it, like to just go like super serious for just for 2 minutes, just to put it out there, so it's on record, so that people listening now, or in the future, or you time travel to the past and you're listening somehow with an iPod that connects you to future podcasts. I don't know. If you ever hear someone on our Exposure Network podcast write or say something that you don't like, you are free to email, of course, mail@exposurenetwork.com. You can contact one of us. Like if I say it and you don't feel comfortable contacting me directly about it to say, hey, what you said made me uncomfortable, just go slide into someone else's DMs from here. Probably not Ash, because no, you get slide into Ash's. Whoever.
I can be serious.
Yeah, it's whoever. My point is like, I feel like obviously I don't think there's any cases of anyone here saying anything super inappropriate or do anything super inappropriate at any point in time. And obviously we're not like a big IGN thing where it's like any one of us could potentially, there's like 5 of us in the whole website, but like just to clarify for people these sorts of things, because because stuff does slip up, and that's stuff that we may not think is like actually offensive at the time. Like, and I'm fully admitted that there has been over the years as we've done these podcasts, I have edited out things I've said, Kieran said, Asher said, Nick said. I think Shree's probably the only person I haven't touched anything with so far. So just should be good. And I don't mean anything major. I just mean like sometimes I've said, even
something
as
that
I said
could be
myself,
taken out of context, or
taken out of context, or like it was like, it was funny maybe for us at the time, but I'm like, that may upset even 1 or 2 people, and I'm like, I don't need that. It's not worth risking upsetting like 1 or 2 people, so I'll get rid of it.
There's been those times where I think one of us has said it, and I think all 3 of us have been a bit, oh yikes, let's just let's get rid of that and edit.
Yeah, and it's never nothing that's like would be like end our quote unquote careers, but it's like, why bother? That's what I'm saying. Why bother messing it around? So, but if anything like that ever gets left in, I just wanted it on the record, So, be that something that's sexist, racist, offends you in any other sort of way. So, do all the things. All right, let's get into video game stuff related to stuff. Quickly put it out there straight away. Last of Us Part 2. Since obviously last week we've played it, much stuff has happened. I've got my review up on exposurenetwork.com. Me and Kieran did a spoiler review discussion for it. It's a bit over 90 minutes. You can go listen to that on the Platinum Explosion feed. This past week's episode of Platinum Explosion has about half an hour, a bit over half an hour of non-spoiler talk in it. I've got an article up about my opinions on the end of it. So if you head to the website, you'll find a whole bunch of Last of Us stuff. But to not spend more time on it, me and Kieran both love the game. Nick's currently playing the game. So far, what I've gathered, he's very much enjoying it, although he's having the same kind of criticism that most people have, which is that's maybe a bit too long, but that's fine. But that is our Last of Us Part 2 stuff. Go find all that stuff. And then also, the only other review I put up this week was for Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, the port of the classic Nintendo 64 and PC game. I think, what did I give it? Like a 7, I think? Jeez, I should have clicked. But
7, I believe, yeah.
Yeah. 7, I enjoyed it. It is a port. It's not a remake, but I think it's a well done port. Like everything's up-res quite well. And that game kind of translates well, I think, to current day. Like all the vehicles still have the sense of speed, which I think is the most important thing about the a pod racing game, and all the tracks are still fun and whatever else. Playing it just made me realize how much I would love a brand new pod racing game with current gen graphics and next gen graphics would be even better. Hey, and just like, cause you go like so fast in that game, and I can't imagine playing that on something that could actually handle it now at like 60 frames per second or above kind of things. So that'd be heaps of fun. But that's, I played it on PS4. You can get it on your Switchies and, you can buy the original on PC, I guess, if you'd want to. But they're the two reviews. Let's get into the news for the week. Let's start with the Avengers details and things that happened. So Avengers, or Square Enix, Crystal Dynamics, just did their first ever, what they call it? War table, right? Yeah. So Kotaku writes, I'm grabbing the details from them. During a half-hour event called the War Table, viewers were treated to a deeper look at the combat system, the mission structure, and the villain, a big brain named MODOK, or M-O-D-O-K. This is, of course, this is, of course, in addition to being forced to watch modern cinema's most recognizable characters take one-way trip into Uncanny Valley. So they basically kicked off by explaining a campaign mission, which featured Thor. He storms a helicarrier, beats the crap out of some evil robots, blah, 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 blah. He ends up saving the day. After the gameplay demonstration, Square Enix revealed more about how the combat works. Unlike certain recent cinematic games, enemies actually have health bars. You can smack them with a combination of regular attacks, aerial attacks, lock-on attacks, this sort of thing. True to the source material, each character has distinct abilities. Thor, for example, can summon the Bifrost to bypass enemy energy shields. The coolest feature, at least among Kotaku staff chatter, came during a deep dive into the robot's Destiny-like gear system. Gear is coded, and you can alter and amplify each Avenger's standard abilities by switching up chest plates, helmets, and all that. There's skill trees. They got some cool costumes. So in my opinion, I wasn't blown away by this, but I've always been very kind of mild on the game as is. I've been mild on the game since I played it at PAX last year. Every time I talked about it since I played that demo, I've kind of just been like, oh, sure, maybe it'll look better by closer to release date. It's still looking the same to me, in my opinion. Like there's some cool things happening here, but all in all, the combat just looks very much boring. And that's kind of how it felt to play it originally. It was just like, it didn't have the kind of combat that you could mindlessly, do for a long period of time and have fun with. And by mindlessly, I mean, you can play Destiny. The reason Destiny is successful is because shooting in Destiny feels good. The reason that Diablo is successful is because beating the shit out of hundreds of enemies for hours on end is because using the abilities and weapons and the gear you constantly rotate in and out in that game feels good. The thing that makes all of these games work, even Division, the combat in that game feels good. Like that's like the key sort of thing. And even if some of the costumes and whatever else and the story may be interesting here, I still say that the combat, because it's just so all over the place, different characters have their own, they have been unable to lock down one core interesting combat loop that would make a gear-based game interesting. That's my potentially hot take on it. Kieran, how do you...
I was super lukewarm on this. Like this, I think it got a little bit better towards the end of this War Table, but when they were showing that Thor gameplay, that looked bad. Like, that did not look like it was fun at all. They, for whatever reason in that gameplay, they seem to have stripped away all of, like, the UI and everything from the game, and it was just kind of raw, just what the gameplay was. And it pretty much resulted into Thor would fly around, land next to something that was like a big robot, and then just sit there punching it with the same kind of 3 or 4 animations for what felt like 20 to 30 seconds each time, and then move on to the next one. It didn't seem fun. It didn't seem interesting. They had mentioned that these story missions are going to be single-player missions, so they're not going to be like the co-op missions that you play with your friends.
Yeah, they are. Just to butt in quickly, the co-op missions are called war zones. You can do them. You can do them by yourself, and your co-op people will be replaced by AI. Otherwise, they will be played by your co-op friends.
Yeah. So, and like this mission with Thor was just not very dynamic. It didn't feel big. It didn't feel fleshed out. It didn't feel fun. And I was watching a couple of spoiler casts, and somebody's like, well, it's sad that because it's a multiplayer game, they can't build in on some of the action like you can in Spider-Man. And it's like, well, why can't they? This section is just... is single player.
Single
Like, why
player,
can't they do that? Like, why does the hits feel like, you know, if you were playing World of Warcraft and you didn't have any abilities, all you had was just your generic, just sword hit on everything. Like, it just didn't feel fun. It didn't feel like any of the characters in that moment had time to breathe. Like, it really wasn't picking up on that much character interaction because it just felt like there was so much going on, like, just pointlessly, that it was hard to follow. I think towards the end, after this bit, they actually started to show gameplay with the full HUD and the UI, and the fact that when you're hitting things, you actually are getting damage numbers off what you're hitting, and the kind of the loot system, and all of like the costumes and stuff. And I was like, okay, this feels a little bit better, interesting, okay. But man, it just didn't look fun, and it's really surprising for an Avengers game, especially when we have, as I just did, we have Marvel Spider-Man to compare it to. You know, they're different types of games, correct? But we have Spider-Man.
The bar is high for a Marvel game.
Is the level of quality that we're expecting from this Marvel title. And to be honest, Marvel's like Ultimate Alliance seemed like it's more fun than this game is right now. Like with what that game was and how that game had all of its abilities and everything. This seems like it's trying to be a AAA version of the Ultimate Alliance series. And for me, it just isn't hitting the bar at all for it.
Ash, I feel like you've always been the most excited for this, so...
Yeah, I mean, it looks fine. I mean, I'm sure... I feel like it'll be more fun to play, like, as a group, and you're all kind of doing your own thing. Maybe one specific character you like lock in, you really like playing as that character, and then they'll kind of carry you through. But yeah, it kind of looks like a step up from that Marvel Heroes MMO they had for a long time.
Yep.
Except, you know, it's 3D and not top down. It's like full on action. But I mean, there's bits and pieces that look interesting. If the story is good, then maybe it'll pull me through it. And if the combat is simple enough, it's like, it's fine. I'll just power through. But it's not like I'm desperate to play it. It's like, I'm not disappointed that it's been delayed and that kind of stuff. But I think it did look better, like graphically. I think they might have tweaked the models and that kind of thing. Or maybe I'm just used to how they look now. Plus the skins, of course, that made the characters look better and that kind of thing. So yeah, lukewarm, but optimistic.
I will also say, I did, while watching the gameplay trailer, I did go, hey, why is Nathan Drake in this game? Oh, right, it's just Nolan North.
Oh, why is...
Can't escape his normal accent or his normal voice tone.
Why is enter Laura Bailey's name in this game? Character name in this game.
Black Widow, I think.
Yeah.
Or Jimmy.
Enter
Abbey,
any Laura Bailey character.
I don't think Laura Bailey's normal voice isn't as recognizable as Nolan North.
Nolan North.
Or even
Travis
Troy Baker.
Willingham, and I was like, I know that's Travis's, but I still hear Thor when I hear that. I don't hear
Travis isn't as recognizable in video games.
But he's been doing Thor for a very long time. Like, he's been doing Thor in animated series and all sorts of stuff for a very long time now, so I kind of expected that from him. It was just, Travis was the one that stood out the most, where I was like, oh yeah. Not Travis, freaking Nolan.
Keeping on the video.
From a story point of view, interesting they're doing the whole Inhumans thing. Obviously, that's not a thing they're going to do in the cinematic universe anytime soon because they screwed it up on television. So it's probably a good option to do it here in video game form. And MODOK was a surprise that he's going to be the major villain. I wouldn't have suspected him at all because he's a bit of an out there choice. I thought when he showed up, I'm like, oh, it's Hector Hammond. And then I realized, no, that's from Green Lantern.
That's DC, that's Green Lantern. I was a little bit disappointed because I was kind of having my fingers crossed for Doctor Doom. Because I feel like you could do Doctor Doom properly in a video game, and I don't think you can do it amazingly on.
This isn't called
movies.
Fantastic Four.
Doctor Doom is an Avengers level villain. Thank you very much.
I think you're going to have a lot more villains in this that just have sub parts, so you'll probably see them.
Well, there was like Abomination was in the trailer where it looked like Abomination. It might be a skin for Hulk, but
because he was holding Hulk.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I know, I think the leader was in this as well. Like, there was a couple of villains. Like, they weren't massive villains, so I'm hoping that, we could get like a really good Mandarin. That would be really nice to apologize for whatever happened in the MCU.
I love that Mandarin.
No. Yeah, I don't know if you can do the Mandarin anymore.
No, you can't do legit Mandarin. You can't do like OG comic book Mandarin.
Why not? He's so good.
Because it's a huge racial stereotype. Everything about the design of the character to its lore, everything.
Fair enough.
So,
Fair enough.
which is probably a reason they changed it in the first place, and that's why originally I hated Iron Man 3 when I was like however young I was when I watched it, and then as I grew older and I rewatched it, I've actually come to really appreciate what Shane Black actually did with because he basically turned that stereotyped character inside out and was like, let's actually just make it into something. And then everyone was like, no, we want the thing like from the comic books, but the thing from the comic books was like from the 70s. So
fair enough.
Different time. Talking about comic book stuff though, so not to rile everyone up about Rocksteady, but we got some Rocksteady stuff.
Yeah.
VG247 writes, it was recently revealed that Rocksteady Games is currently working on a new Suicide Squad game, which could be called Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Rocksteady, which is known alongside Warner Bros. Montreal for illustrious Batman Arkham series, will seemingly be continuing its work within the DC universe with its new Suicide Squad game. This doesn't come as much of a surprise given the recently leaked list of Warner Bros. Game names, including website names tied to Suicide Squad and something called Gotham Knights. A report from Eurogamer notes that the list is now understood to be accurate. The report also notes that the domain Suicide Squad KillTheJusticeLeague.com looks like it could be the game's working title, which is a pretty not too subtle nod to what you might actually be doing in the game. Definitely not fighting Justice League. Suicide Squad, thegame.com, GothamKnights.com are also featured in a list of leaked domains, indicating that there could be a separate Batman-based game in the works too, likely the one being made by Warner Bros. Montreal, which hasn't been officially announced, but it's relatively known at this point, having been continuously teased for ages, including the tweets we constantly bring up on this podcast.
Oh, has it? Has it really? Did not know. Had not noticed.
Have we brought it up before?
Have we ever talked about it and the mild anger and frustration that has been caused by that very tweet? No.
I think it was a series of tweets, wasn't it? Several different clues.
It was like 3 or 4 tweets. But who remembers? Who's thought about it since then? Fucking bunch of jerks.
Ash, how do you feel about the name Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League? What's that make you think the game potentially could be?
I mean, it could be exactly what it says. Just Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. Like someone like Amanda Connor, obviously, is it Amanda Connor? No. Amanda
Waller. Yeah.
Yeah. So from the comic, she runs the Justice League and runs the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Maybe she turns them against wants to take out the Justice League.
Could they though?
I mean, one by one. I mean, that would be, I suspect, like they all group up on.
Maybe
they all
Aquaman?
group on Martian Manhunter. And
you pick Martian Manhunter as one of the ones they could, in theory, take out.
He doesn't like fire. I mean, that's pretty. He's get heat waves.
Yeah, but in most Martian Manhunter, it doesn't leave the freaking satellite.
Hawkgirl. They can take out Hawkgirl
again.
Deep pull.
Vixen.
Very, very deep pull. That main core member. Hawk. Well, she was
in the cartoon.
Several of the series, but it's fine.
I just went back, but just to jump in, I went to see if those tweets were still up by Warner Bros. Montreal, and they are indeed still up. There was a total of 3 teased tweets, with the key one being the original video GIF thing that they put out with all the different symbols and stuff. And then the next, What are
the dates?
So the first one was posted on the 24th of the 9th. The second one, which was a half picture of something, was posted on the 10th of the 1st. And then the final one was posted on the same day with a full picture.
During the 1st of the 10th?
Sorry. I'm reading the fucking... Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I figured it was, October 1st.
October 1st, yeah.
Tease.
Yeah, so it was teased about... And people are still replying in the semi-recently to the stuff here. So other people
are also Kieran levels of angry.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so... What jerks. What absolute jerks.
So I guess this ties into the stuff. This will presumably getting revealed at the the DC event that's happening in August. Fandom, yeah. So are we presuming they reveal both? Do you think it would be weird to reveal both a Suicide Squad game, which probably has Batman in it anyway, because it's about the Justice League and Suicide Squad, and then also a Batman game? Do you think it would be weird to have two games? Unless, let me chuck this out here just as a side thing. Remember last generation where they did the whole Assassin's Creed thing where one was for last gen and one was for next gen? Could they possibly do that? Yuck, but could they do that?
No, that's yuck. That seems to go against everything kind of being established.
Not against Xbox's words.
Yeah,
well, no, but like, there's no games that are just going to be like this from Xbox's point of view. There's no games that are going to be like this is just for
Crash Bandicoot's coming out October, right? October 4th, I think's the date, and that's PS4.
And that's but it'll be available on PS5.
Everything's going to be available on PS5 and Xbox. They're all backwards compatible. It doesn't matter, but at the same time,
what's the point of doing that's weird.
So people, I would suspect at least one of them is going to be holiday this year.
Okay, so but would they reveal both at the same time? Is that not?
Yeah,
does a messaging
I think
get
they
weird?
will reveal both.
I don't. think
one's coming out mid next year.
I don't think Batman gets revealed.
I think I'll put it out there. I find it fucking
of the two,
weird.
that's the one I think is more likely.
Yeah, because I'd find it really fucking weird if they've teased the game a year ago and then instead they come out and reveal Rocksteady.
It is fucking weird. Yes, it is fucking weird. But here we are in the fucking Twilight Zone, everyone. So I'm saying Suicide Squad's going to be first. Batman, who knows when?
Listen, we'll know in like 5-6 weeks' time.
You know, it's funny how this year's going. Like this whole year's just felt like one big, fuckery do. But at the same time,
very long and very short at the same time.
It's weird how long it feels and short it feels at the same time. It's like I think about stuff that happened in January and I'm like, that was last year, but it was this year, but also this year's still going. But also this year.
It was a whole different world.
Also, it wasn't that long ago.
I mean,
it's a whole different world, everyone.
I don't know, it's crazy times. So I'm keen to find out. I'm keen for both games. I mean, it's been so long since I've had since Arkham Knight that I'm very keen for just pretty much anything Rocksteady at this point.
I'll be more interested with Suicide Squad when I find out the exact lineup for Suicide Squad.
Harley Quinn.
Deadshot.
Well, it's going to be Harley Quinn and Deadshot. But is like Captain Boomerang going to be in it?
I hope so.
Because I want Captain Boomerang in it, but there's,
Man-Shark.
There's
Killer Croc.
Yeah, like these characters, I'm like, are you putting all the characters in? Which iteration of the Suicide Squad are you popping into this game?
Yeah, no. They could do their own variation, obviously. And the other big question I have, that's the most important question that I feel like a lot of people are kind of missing out on asking, is this not a continuation of the Rocksteady Batman universe? Because if it is, there's a lot of questions and implications to the overall lore, given how Batman Arkham Knight finishes.
Especially with, because is it going to be the same Harley Quinn?
Yeah.
Is it going to be that Harley Quinn?
So there's no Joker. Spoiler. Like, if you haven't played these games at this point, like, I'm sorry. Like, go play them. But also, like, of course, if it's a continuation of the universe, it's like, well, Joker's dead.
Joker's dead.
But that would also make sense as to potentially why Harley would be trying to turn a leaf, maybe? Like,
I don't know.
Why she's trying to kill the Justice League?
Maybe. But maybe she's getting forced to, but she's trying to turn a leaf at the same time. You know what I mean?
I don't. That's the weird thing is that the fact that I'd actually really like it to be that Arkham version of Harley Quinn, because I think that Arkham version of Harley Quinn was always very close to the Batman animated series.
Well,
Harley Quinn.
It was, that's the original Batman Arkham game was written by Paul Dini, and I don't know if Bruce Timm helped write it, but I mean, it was basically like, hey, let's turn the 90s animated series into like bit more serious and turn it into a video game, and that's what they did with the original. Yeah, and so that's, I'd like to see that character try and turn the leaf and stuff, but at the same time, I'm like, but that's not really the point of Suicide Squad. Is it's generally people like characters that are being forced against their own will to do. Yeah, but to be honest, most Suicide Squad comic book stories I've read that are actually interesting have nothing to do with what the Suicide Squad's main mission is, because most of the time their main mission's like kill terrorists or some bullshit. It's like, okay. Or stop another villain. Like, one of my favorite stories was when they were... who wrote it? I think Gail Simone wrote it. There was one where they were, like, tasked to stop being the Riddler doing a whole bunch of fucked up shit. And that was from, like, a few years ago. But that was one of favorite ones that stick out at the moment. And that was great because it was like a lot of drama to do with both the Riddler and then drama between the characters in the group. But it wasn't like, oh, stop terrorist organization, which is how the Suicide Squad started back in the 80s or whatever. It was like, stop terrorist group. Boring.
But then, can this game be an open world game like the Arkham series? Will this
Yeah,
game
fuck
be
yeah.
featured? But is it going to be heavily featured in one city? Is it just going to be Gotham? Is it just going to be Metropolis? Is it
That could be
going to be multiple?
maybe.
Are there going to be maybe a couple smaller hub areas that you?
Well, if
can
it's
kind of
next
work
gen,
through?
our worlds are open. You know, you can switch characters on the fly, no loading times, bigger worlds.
Well, because it's being released this year, it's like it's got to work on the current gen system as well. You know, it's not the 2021 release; it's 2020.
What, you look like you really got something coming over, Ash.
I'm trying to think.
Jeez.
Maybe it's like maybe they're staying. There's like a hub where they all stay in captivity, and then they obviously get sent out on separate missions. I suspect that's probably going to be the way it's going to go, rather than some big open world. You'll probably be able to switch between different members of Suicide Squad at will, or set up your own team, whatever. The other thing to mention, of course, is James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie is coming out August next year.
Yeah.
So I would suspect this would come out
But
before.
Don't you want to
Yes.
distance yourself from that?
yeah, that was what I was going to say. I was like, you cannot put it too close, or else people are going to
Yes.
assume it's a movie tie-in. You can try and
Yep.
bounce off the promotional material of the movie and or the game to help promote one another. So I would say like if this, I'd say this needs to come out like 3 months prior or after
I-
at a minimum
suggestion?
kind of thing.
Suggestion: Suicide Squad, BioWare style gameplay. Like we go back to the main like holding area, the cell. There's some like relationship stuff. You have some like bonding missions. You know, we like
You create your own
know.
character to be part of the Suicide Squad.
possibly that could be pretty dope.
No, they ain't going to do that. People won't care as much.
But like,
They want to play as the actual characters.
yeah, but you could, romance all of it. Romance Killer Croc, like everybody would love to. You know?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm sure. Now before we get too sidetracked, I do
But
want to...
on the universe thing, I
Yeah.
think it will be its own separate universe.
No, I don't like that at all. I
Like,
don't like-
because then if it's not part of that, they can actually kill the Justice League,
yeah.
and then potentially
But I
another
don't
game
think-
would be
I
the
don't think they
ramifications
could-
of them killing the
I don't
Justice
think
League.
they'd ever kill the Justice League.
No, that'd be silly.
For me to
Have
sell,
you read Injustice?
I've read Injustice, but that's not the Suicide Squad doing it. Like that's not like for me. Thinking about the Suicide Squad versus Superman or the Suicide Squad versus Batman, I'm finding it very hard to.
Really, I watched Boys
Envision.
the TV series from Amazon, The Boys, which was very popular, about a bunch of nobodies taking out massive.
No one's heard of
superheroes.
it, Ash. No one's heard of it, I'm sure. So,
It was a big success on Amazon last year.
yeah, that's fine.
No, but like
Carl
it's
Urban.
just- I don't know. It just seems difficult to me to see that because none of the Suicide Squad have those larger powers or abilities.
That's why it's going to be cool to do it, because it'll be really hard.
Zatanna
like
is part of the
Dark
Suicide
Souls
Squad.
type fights.
No, you ain't gonna play that though.
Dark Souls. Yeah,
don't
you
want
would play it. Dark Souls style fights against Superman.
Okay, maybe
who can
not.
Fly.
You're like, make it like
Fuck
Dark
you.
Souls, because then I certainly won't touch it.
Oh yeah, because there's definitely no kryptonite in this universe.
Nah,
You
it's all
take
gone.
Superman out with.
Where? Okay, let's see the Suicide Squad get their hands on kryptonite.
Yeah, they just rob.
Ring Lex Luthor up. Yo, big man.
That's your mission you've got to do before you fight Superman.
You got a stash of the green stuff, don't you?
It's like a heist movie.
So then the other thing, just to quickly touch on, I had this random thought before about the Court of Owls one. This entire time we've been thinking about this game that you're playing Batman, right? What if the Court of Owls game is you're actually just playing a Talon?
No.
What do you mean no?
No.
You shut me down
No.
so fast on that. No.
Just didn't they already well, wasn't the rumor already gonna be that this was young Batman? This was like year one Batman?
Yeah,
or
because
year
that
two
suits the
Batman?
comic story. The comic storyline is like year one. It's like early Batman.
Not really.
It's not actually year one because they did that later, but it's still early
Yeah.
Batman in the storyline.
I mean, it could be year one. It was 0 year.
Or it could be
Yeah,
it could be Dick Grayson.
Well, the rumor is it's going to be the Batman family. You can play.
Yeah,
as
you can
whoever
switch and
you want.
play as someone's room. But I'm just saying, I want to chuck it out there, even though you all just shut me down, that I would actually be open to a game where you're actually playing as a Talon.
No.
Because because there's actually a potentially interesting story there. You know?
No. Court of Owls, but Batman Beyond.
No. How about this? Batman game, Batman Beyond.
Also fantastic. Also brilliant.
How about we play part of the game as Batman and then we play part of the game as Talon?
All right, and then we go into the future and you play as Tim from Batman Beyond.
Yep. People will love it. Love it.
Just jump all over the place, you know? Because I've been waiting for a Batman Beyond game since that PS1 one, and they haven't made one, so ripped off.
You're right, Kieran.
I think we should move on because this has just turned into like
this is
Batman theory crafting episode.
Batman theory crafting / potential spoilers for another game.
Rocksteady, just give us. Just tell us already.
Just give us the thing.
Just give us the thing.
All right, so this week's Pokemon Presents, which as we talked about last week, they were like, hey, another Pokemon thing's happening next week. It's for a huge game. Massive.
Huge! Needs its own presentation.
To tell you about. Yep. So ahead of time, they said it was going to be like 11 minutes. I was like, cool. Much like everyone, the rumor was it's going to be let's go, silver gold, which would have made sense. Would have made perfect sense. I'm like, yeah, I'm aboard this. This does add up. They're like, in that last Pokemon Presents, all the plushie toys behind him were second-gen characters. I'm like, this all adds up. 100% teasing. Sit down at fucking whatever time it was, 1 a.m.
11 o'clock.
It was early. 11. Jeez, early. It felt like later because it was confusing. But the game was none of that. It was nothing anyone thought it was going to be. It's called Pokemon Unite. And even though I'm kind of making fun of it, I'm actually more open to it than most people. But so they announced that they've partnered with Timmy, however you say it, Timmy's Studios and Tencent to create what is essentially a Pokemon MOBA. It's titled Pokemon Unite. And I'm saying it although they never said, hey, this is a Pokemon MOBA, it's what the game is. It's 5v5, 2 sides, there's lanes, there's basically jungle. The gameplay is you fight other Pokemon, like AI-controlled Pokemon. You beat them, you get experience, you level up. As you level up, you evolve your Pokemon. As you level up, you can pick which moves you put points into, much like any other fucking MOBA. And then also, they didn't fully explain how it works, but it's like you go to basically...
You have to capture Pokemon?
Well, every time you defeat one, you capture them. But and then eventually you go dump the Pokemon you've captured into capture points for massive points for banking, but they never explained if you die, if you lose them all, and that's the risk reward, which would make sense to me.
I doubt it. I doubt it that there's going to be that much risk reward in the game.
Maybe you lose some if you die. I feel like there has to be some. But anyway, that's
some sort of punishment.
Yeah, that's the gameplay. That is the gameplay. So there'll be team fights, whatever else. They didn't fully explain everything, obviously. One thing I pointed out in my news post about it was that at once, because I was like, what are the global goals? Because of course in most MOBAs, you fight over objectives like dragons and what forth. At one stage, I could see in the top hand of the screen, it said Zapdos is appearing in the middle of the map or something. So I'm like, maybe that's a global objective that you can team fight over. You beat the Zapdos. Obviously, the Zapdos would bank for quite a lot of points, I would presume. And then the other thing that makes us stand out differently to other MOBAs is they're like, fuck it, in the last 2 minutes, everything's worth double points, so any team can kind of come back from nothing.
that makes it double that I think there's no fucking risk in this.
It's obviously not going to be super hardcore. They said the game is going to be free to start, which is the word they like to use for all their free-to-play games, which I don't mind, honestly, because it is kind of more... it is properly termed because, free-to-play games always have microtransactions and stuff like that. So it's like Pokemon has this whole thing of saying they're free to start, which means, they're free to play, but you're probably going to spend money eventually.
Get it on your machine for free.
Yeah, you can get on your phone for free, but there is money to be spent here. It's going to be on Nintendo Switch as well as mobile devices. It's going to have cross-play. During the Pokemon Presents thing, they showed off a esports type match with commentary and everything, which was quite... weird to watch, but nonetheless. Ash, how do you feel about this?
Listen, we're all going to quit the Explosion Network. We're going to follow careers in Pokemon Unite.
No.
It's going to be great. Stop. I mean, it doesn't look very good to start off with. I mean, it looks pretty mobile game-like.
You mean quality-wise, presentation-wise?
Yeah, quality.
I thought it looked fine.
The actual game.
Oh, you mean the gameplay? I was about to say the character designs and everything looked fine.
They're fine, I guess.
Yeah, it didn't look bad.
I mean, they're not as good as the recent game.
No.
Or any of the other mobile games we've seen recently. It's probably the least good-looking Pokemon game we've seen so far.
It looks janky.
Yeah.
I think that's what happens when you're designing a game to be played on mobile and Switch at the same time.
Yeah. Maybe on the Switch you'll play better.
Probably.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll try it out at some point. I don't expect to devote much time to it. Be interested to see what Pokemon they let you play as, I guess, is the only other thing. But yeah, it's fine. I don't think there's a hell of a lot of depth to it. It'll just be... There doesn't seem to be any variety in it. Is there certain attack Pokemon? Or
yeah, I would presume that Pokemon like Charizard...
Because apparently there's no effects, type effects.
Yeah, no, I think
obviously that would have been.
I thought they said there was some sort of different typage effects, possibly, or maybe only against the wild Pokemon, not each other. I don't know.
Probably the wild, not.
But like, but it's very much like they showed Snorlax in the gameplay, and then they showed other Pokemon like Charizard and whatever. So I took it as like, oh, Charizard's obviously an attacking Pokemon, and Snorlax is obviously a tank because would make sense. So.
I mean,
but if I'm evolving my characters, right? Say, I didn't see it, but if you get to evolve your characters, your Pokemons, if I'm playing Squirtle, can I skip Wartortle?
No.
And just stay a Squirtle for a longer period?
No.
I'm not sold on this game then.
What?
I'm not sold on this game.
Wartortle's perfectly fine.
Wartortle, no. None of that, thank you. I will wait for Blastoise. Thank you very much. I will stay.
We'll just play better.
You don't put any points into anything. You just bank it all until you can...
Bank it all up and just level up really quickly and close my
Blastoise.
eyes when the Wartortle's age comes. Just this game looks... Yeah, I wasn't interested. It just did seem a little bit rough around the edges, which, as you said, because it's being made for mobile and for Switch, it probably is. I just didn't think it had... I think that the biggest... I didn't think that the character models looked like they were polished enough. Like, I probably could overlook the
it's still a work in progress. They didn't give it a release date, so it could still be a while off.
True. I don't know. I didn't love it, and I don't think it'd be something I'd pick up or play at all.
So as obviously the most positive one, I'm actually keen to give this a go because I feel like this could actually be sort of fun. I currently don't expect to fall in love with it, but at the same time, I'm intrigued enough that I would give it a go today if I very much could, and I feel like it, like from a like development standpoint or like a standpoint of like trying to push the Pokemon brand into something else. I think trying to make this game in the first place isn't a bad idea in concept because it like the Pokemon brand works in this type of game, kind of like having different monsters be different characters and like tanky attacky ones and whatever else. Like it's kind of perfect for this type of thing, and I feel like the game needs to meet in the middle. It needs to not be Dota or League, but it needs to not be super fucking easy to the point of just trying to solely play to people who've never played MOBAs before and just Pokemon fans. I feel like you need to meet in the middle where it's like Pokemon fans who've never played MOBAs need to have some challenge, need to get into this, need to be an entry-level MOBA. But at the same time, you need people who have played and experienced MOBAs who also happen to be Pokemon fans to not hate the game simply because it is so easy and just not fun for them because it's bare minimum, not much happening in it. So I feel like if it meets in the middle, there is potential here for something intriguing. Now I know a lot of the sort of comeuppance I saw in the chat, and then me and Bryce from the House of Murray had a back and forth on Twitter about it when it was revealed was around Tencent, because they have known in the past years people kind of put a lot of blame on them for being super greedy with the League of Legends stuff and like money grubbing and whatever else. I'm not super like scared of Tencent doing it at the moment because they did last year's Call of Duty Mobile, which I never really talked about in here because I didn't put that much time into it, but I ended up playing a couple hours of that after it won the game. Best mobile game. I was like, fuck, I better give it a couple hours of my time to actually see if it's actually even okay. And my opinions on the Call of Duty Mobile after a couple hours of it it's fine. Like it actually plays quite well. And from a like free to play mobile game, it does the whole thing where it's like you log in for the first time in the day. It's like do you want to buy these fucking packs on special for gun skins? And I'm like, no. And it's like, you sure you don't want to buy season pass? I'm like, no. And then I play games, and after that point, it doesn't like pop up every 10 minutes and tell you. Like it kind of just blasts you on your way in, but after that, it's like, all right, next we'll go try and annoy someone else. So I never felt like that game was too aggressive with the microtransaction stuff. So for this, I'm open for it to being not so bad as well. And I think hopefully with the Pokemon company, you know, being involved and, you know, obviously lots of kids potentially picking this up, you would hope that they're like, look, can you calm the fuck down with the microtransaction pushing in this game, maybe, hopefully, sort of thing. So, but all of this will be answered. All of our questions, worries will be answered the second they just go, here, play the goddamn game. I have to wonder if they'll do because if this wasn't Pokemon, most of them MOBAs or, you know, these types of games, beta, early access, you know, like obviously there's testing. But I'm like, is it because it's a Pokemon game, they'll just drop it and be like, yeah, we'll fix the shit later. But or will they actually do some sort of beta period for this game quite soon or something? Because I feel like what we were shown, it's like, yeah, it's rough around the edges, but it's also rough enough that I'm like, beta, early access. Like, is this where we're going? But yeah, then no date. They didn't announce another Pokemon Present, so don't know when we'll find out more information. But it was older people that would get so dead set on those Let's Go games. Man, that's I was believing, but at the same time, I'm old enough and have been around this industry long enough to know never to lock my heart on something that much.
You would think Pokemon would have learned, right? Like after all of the bullshit that was surrounding Sword and Shield and how badly its community got during that period of time, you would believe that they would have some kind of social understanding of what they were doing by building this up to have its own event and everything.
Yeah. But no, they don't know. They know what they're doing. It's really weird because I feel like this should have just been, I really don't understand why it was its own event. I do not get it. It should have just been part of the one the week prior and I would have been like, all right, whatever.
How long was this event
11
or
minutes.
showcase? Like, why is that? Like, it just bolted onto the end of your
Because obviously they're trying to push it so much that they wanted it to stand out on its own. Like that's how much they're obviously either wanting this to be successful or hoping it will be successful. That's the only reason that actually makes sense to me, that they believe in it so much that this is a thing that's going to be massive for this year, which to be honest and to be realistic, like your feelings aside for the game, every single thing that Tencent puts out makes bucket tons in
and it might be massive in Japan. Like, it might be huge in Japan.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many, like, different little mobile games or different, like, games in general that are huge in Japan that we just don't get in the West. And I don't think Japan really has any kind of League of Legends domination or Dota 2 or Smite or anything like that. I don't feel like there's a big presence in any of those communities from Japan. So I still think that maybe that mobile market's still there to be kind of capitalized on. And, you know, they're bringing it with the cute Pocket Monsters kind of branding. And there we go. Bring people right in.
Yeah.
Give me my Pokemon Auto Battler, please.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a cool idea. That's a very cool idea.
I feel like that would work well on mobile.
You know what? They might just be like a couple years behind the 8 ball. Like, they saw, like, 2 years ago where everybody was bringing out MOBAs, and they were like, man, let's do that. And also, Pokemon Hero Shooter, here we come.
Yeah. Well.
Maybe.
It's going to happen. Overmon.
Let's talk into Kieran's favourite news of the week. So, CD Projekt Red put on their first Night City Wire. It went for around like half an hour, a little bit short or something like that. They showed off gameplay, a full-on new trailer. They spent about 10 minutes explaining this like kind of. It's easy to me.
Brain dances.
Yeah, brain dances. But to me, it's just easy to explain it. It's like this game's version of some sort of like Detective Vision type fucking thing, basically. And then they also revealed that Cyberpunk 2077 is getting its own anime series coming in 2022 to Netflix by fucking. I thought I didn't need to look here to remember.
Trigger.
Trigger. Thank you. Yeah,
Studio Trigger who did Premiere.
So in my thing, I wrote Kill la Kill because that's the main thing I know them
And Kill la
from,
Kill,
so-
because Kill la Kill is like, yeah.
As soon as I saw the name, I was like, I know them.
I'm with you. I'm with you there, bud.
I know who they are. So that's cool, but obviously, 2022, it's ages away. They didn't show anything, but cool anime. That obviously, I think to me, it just shows they're obviously thinking of Cyberpunk after this as a massive
Ongoing
thing.
brand.
It's an ongoing brand at this point for them.
Like the fact that Netflix is on board with it is like Netflix were clearly like, hey, we like this Witcher thing you're doing. Let's be on board with whatever you're doing next as well to kind of continue that and get something out as soon as possible.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, what do you think of the whole thing or the trailer or however you want to go about it, Kira? Because obviously they explained that everything in this trailer that's titled The Gig is apparently all from the prologue mission.
Oh my god. Like everything they showed, you're like, wow, there's so many different like environments that they're in, there's so many different characters, it seems to be so full on with different style of gameplay or events, and then they're like, that's just the prologue, everyone. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what? How? What the? Where I'm getting the feeling that maybe you possibly start outside of Night City and you drive in to Night City. Possibly that could be the thing. But man, I'm excited for this game. Even like I'm so hyped for this game, or quote unquote over for this game, where I'm like, even the brain dance stuff, I was loving the brain dance stuff. At the same time, I could be like, if you weren't overly like this into Cyberpunk, you might just be like, okay, come on, show me something that's actually interesting.
I got to be honest. The part that my favorite part of the stream was the brain dance stuff, because it's probably the most interesting stuff I've seen them show in quite some time. Because as cool as the trailer was, it's just more shooty bang bang. But oh my god, was I loving the fact that on a combination of Twitter and the chat, as soon as they started showing that brain dance stuff, everyone was just like, "Oh, boring, move on." I'm like, what do you want what do you want them to show? Like, do you just want to see shooting all the fucking time? Like, we have seen shooting. This is something new. What do you want? They said, we're doing another episode in a couple of weeks. What are you going to get shown in that? More shooting, more shooting, more shooting. Bunch of fucking sadists. Everyone just wants to see people getting shot all the time. Fuck it. They're like, here's an interesting new gameplay mechanic. Fuck off, they said. I'm like, do you want to play the game? Go play Call of Duty.
Really? Have you? Why are you surprised?
No, I'm not surprised.
You've been on the internet the last week.
I'm not surprised, but at the same time, I'm just like, oh my god, you cannot please these people. These people went from fuck yeah, game of the year. The chat was literally like game of the year, game of the year, game of the year, game of the year, and then this was the brain dance stuff was on like for 2 minutes, and they're like, boring. Next.
I think the brain dance stuff could have just been maybe edited down a little bit. Yes, they were just trying to show the gameplay as a whole and show the whole kind of the brain dance tutorial that you would say it would be. But I think maybe, it's fun to play through and mess around with while you're playing it, but maybe it's just not so fun to watch. Because, we all know that we're going to have to sit down and play through that section. Anyway.
What do you want them to show then?
No. I want them to show that, but just show it. No, but the thing is, for me, I didn't care. I loved it. But I think for your mass audience, what you do is you just kind of.
But this isn't a mass audience. That's the thing that confuses me the most, because this isn't Xbox E3 showcase where the Cyberpunk stream is going for too long.
Correct.
This is CD Projekt Red's Twitch channel exclusively. They're like ahead of time. We're showing half an hour about Cyberpunk on our fucking channel by us. It's not someone else's random thing. You're not expecting any other game. You're going into this for a deep dive about Cyberpunk. And when they deep dive on a fucking gameplay mechanic, people are like, oh, boring. And so 2 weeks time, 3 weeks time, something, we're supposed to be getting another one of these, right? They're not going to show another massive trailer like The Gig because they're not going to whip out another one like that. So what are they going to do? They're probably going to spend more time explaining minute details about either interacting with the city or something else. And I can guarantee you people walk out a segment of that going, well, that part was boring. And I'll be like, what do you want? What do you want for these fucking things?
Like, overall, though, even for, as I said, for me, who's already in love with this game, I loved listening to like the developers and listening to the lore master. I was like, I'm fucking in love with this game. I'm so excited. Hearing the music just makes me gets those endorphins flowing. Like, just that kind of industrial kind of electronic music just makes me just feel good and feel ready. I'm excited to play this game and excited to explore it. And hearing and reading about media outlets that got to go play the game, and the fact that they got to go play for 4 hours and everything that they can talk about with it. Like, they didn't get to record anything, but their experiences make me even more excited for this game, for its range of customization and possibilities, and the fact that this game is so replayable by the sounds of it, and it's so deep that it sounds like it's going to be so much fun to do and play.
Before I get Ash's thoughts, I just want to chuck in a little side note because I found it interesting. In America, because of COVID and shit, I mean, it's everywhere in the world, but of course they're just up shit creek, and we're a different story here in Australia at the moment. But they did it all preview events people did from their homes, and the preview build of the game people were playing was actually streamed through the NVIDIA GeForce thing or whatever the fuck that's called, like Shield or something like that. That's how they're done. So I was like, damn, that's actually quite impressive, and potentially could change the way preview events or preview things are done for media and journalists in general, because I saw a lot of people point out like there's less chance for stuff leaking this way. They've got more control over the game, like and whatever else is happening that way.
Person sounded like that they had their own personal.
They could talk to someone on like Skype or whatever the fuck was happening.
Yeah, they had like the CD Red Projekt Red person playing with them, and sitting in
coach,
on the PlayStation
or whatever you want to call it.
The coach just to talk them through, and I think not every game gets that, because a lot of these sessions that people get to play these games,
it's like one person a couple of people walking in a room, like doing the rounds, looking for people to interact with or whatever in these sorts of events. Whereas because of this, everyone had someone. And then also, I think it's worthwhile pointing out, in a world where we're trying to make the industry better, doing it this way enabled people who are usually unable to attend these events to participate in doing a preview event like this.
People who are located in remote places.
Well, no,
like
that's
Tasmania.
Not what I meant. Not what I meant.
Not Dylan though.
That's not what I meant. But that's in Australia.
Shepparton.
No,
I wish.
In Australia they did them all still. Like you had to go to a building or whatever to do them all. So. Because obviously our internet's fucked and whatever else, so it was never going to happen here. But
that's true.
I did think from a standpoint, I've never heard. This is the first time I've ever heard about like a preview event being done like this, and I just thought it was super interesting. Ash, what were your thoughts on the whole thing?
It's very pretty. It wasn't a very interesting presentation, I don't think. Trailer was cool. I think the brain dancing is interesting in itself, like a cool puzzle thing for you to play, but I don't think showing it is terribly interesting. And then a guy just talked
but how,
for a long time.
Man, shut up. Do not get he fucking rocked those AirPods. Like, I was like, man, if you're going to wear AirPods on it, you wear them like that guy. But
I was going to say, how do you feel about this game anyway, Ash? Like, what's your like hype level for Cyberpunk?
I'm not super hyped.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
I'm interested, but yeah, I'm not Kieran. I'm not Kieran level. Will sell my soul for a copy right now.
But you know what? I'm legit considering buying this game twice at launch. I'm legit considering buying a PlayStation copy at launch, buying a PlayStation copy and a PC copy. A, because I'm like, I share games with my dad, so I'm like, man, I want you to play this because this game's going to be fantastic. Also, I want another save file to play on. And B, I'm like, buy them on PC anyway. I'm very much considering.
You could play multiple. I'm sure they've got multiple save files.
My point is for the Ash thing, to bring it back to everyone complaining about the brain dancers thing. You don't like it. I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But at the same time, I think
it'll be fun to play. I don't think they just
but I'm saying this thing wasn't super interesting. I'm like, yeah, but you're not super invested in this world already.
So it's like,
I mean, this is episode 1 of this series that you're doing. Wouldn't you want to start off with like a bigger bang?
No, but you don't need to. Would you go? Would you
go
to
the
a
fucking
panel?
trailer?
If we went to a convention, would you go to a panel that was specifically for something that you were kind of interested in, but not really? There and
probably.
Go, well, that wasn't very interesting because you guys just talked about this in-depth bullshit about the thing. Would you like?
I probably would do that.
Yeah, I feel like if
I went to that,
I feel like complaining about them showing the brain dancers is, I think it's silly. I think it doesn't make sense.
It's not. Dylan has the point. It's not like it's like
it's not E3. It's not in Xbox.
It's not like an Xbox thing. This is This is for Cyberpunk, for people that care about Cyberpunk.
All I'm saying is
it
was cool. A bit too long. They could have cut it down.
Again, what do you want to see? You just basically.
I'm fine with them showing that. They just need to condense it. It went a little bit too long.
But then he comes
out and he shows his notebook, which is no clues in the game at all except that he scribbled everything
But
out.
my thing is this, which is...
And you've ruined all your notes by scribbling it out.
Yeah, so you couldn't read them. They said it was part 1, right? So straight away, they're like, this is part 1, we're doing it over in a couple weeks. Obviously, the key thing for this one was they're focusing on brain dancers. I can guarantee the next thing will have like another 10-minute segment focused on a certain gameplay mechanic. And if they do a third one, that one will focus on a certain gameplay or character or location or something like that. It's no different. Here's the thing with these, right? I think because people hype them up and they do them as live streams now, that people are making these things out like they have to be E3 level, fucking hype level when they watch them. However, these are no different than watching 10 to 15 minute videos that developers often put out in the lead up to game releases that are all developer diary type shit. And they talk about certain mechanics or certain development processes.
They hyped it up themselves.
And they fucking do it. But people,
how did they hype it up themselves? They didn't. They weren't like, this is going to be the most amazing thing.
I'm pretty sure the tweet says
Keighley put it on his Summer Games Fest list.
Yeah,
it's like
because he's probably
on
like
the same level as the PS4 showcase.
Yes, because it's something. It's like one of the biggest, if not the biggest game of the year. Of course, you're going to put that and showcase that and highlight that.
I mean,
here's what their tweet says, Ash.
Who knows? Is it going to be out? Is it going to be the biggest game of this year?
Shh.
I mean, it actually has to come out this year.
Listen, tune in to twitch.tv/CG Projekt Red in 1 hour to get some fresh intel about Cyberpunk 2077.
Man, they hyped the shit out of that.
They said this was going to be the best event.
They said it was so hyped. They were like, Keanu Reeves moment 2.0, bitches. That's what they said in that tweet, didn't they, actually? No, because they put it and said it how it was going to be. God, you have the hottest of takes sometimes.
I don't think it is. I think your take is more hot.
Let's compare it to the Avengers War Table. They showed some gameplay. They spent ages talking about the fucking loot system.
Yeah, I didn't think that was great either.
That's my point. You're just not super into the dev diary shit. They're all the same.
If E3, right? If E3 happened for real this year, E3 week has happened.
They wouldn't show this.
A couple weeks ago, and then a couple weeks later, CD Projekt Red came out and said, hey, we're going to do a dev diary series starting this day, and we'll do a live stream and then watch it whatever you like. Would you take the time to watch the dev diary?
I mean, if we were going to talk about it on the episode.
I don't feel like you get it.
Being very honest.
Yeah, I was about to say you don't really get a monkey because you're kind of obligated to watch this shit because you do this fucking show, which means that you get to come in here and be like, I was forced to watch it, Dylan Kieran. I didn't like it very much.
I can't believe I'm saying it's fine. It said it could have been a little bit shorter, and you know, it's like I'm murdering somebody.
Well, you are. You're murdering Kieran's.
Listen, this game's been in development. It was announced
26 years.
I think I read somewhere 26 years ago. You can understand if we're a bit weary of this news cycle. It's like,
look.
Okay.
I'm only sticking up for the showcase.
The brain dance. You just really like that brain dance.
No, I'm neither here or there on it.
Man.
You know, it's like the Batman thing.
No,
it's Arkham Origins, right?
Kingdom Hearts takes like 20 years to come out, and Ashley's all okay with it. Fucking Cyberpunk that Ashley doesn't care about. This news cycle's getting a bit old, isn't it, eh?
I mean, I think the funniest thing will be if you don't even need to do this brain dance thing in the game. It's like, depending on what type
it
of
probably
person
is.
you play.
No, but the thing is, it's probably 100% optional.
They said
there'll probably be one mission that's like
tutorial.
Yeah, go talk to them, tutorial, learn about it. But other than that, if you don't want to do it, don't do it.
Now I know what's going to happen each episode, so it's fine. Expectations are set now. Next episode,
man, I wish
a little bit more of a trailer,
guys.
How you drive in the world of Cyberpunk.
CD Projekt Red. You know, I know you're listening to our podcast. CD Projekt Red.
The currency system of Cyberpunk.
No. CD Projekt Red. You know. Sorry, you guys. Yeah, bit of advice from Ashley here. You guys have hyped yourself up a little bit too much in your tweets, and you really didn't set the bar in your tweets or how you presented this. Ashley got the wrong message from your tweets clearly, that were clearly overhyping the whole thing. And, now Ashley knows the bar that which to expect if he watches the showcase.
I feel like I'm just, I'm straight.
That's exactly what I said.
This is turned into like a whole topic on like what to expect from these sorts of things. Because there's another one that, what the fuck are they called now? Oh, fuck. Can't remember what they're called. God, it's not Avengers and it's not this.
Must be really good.
No, I can't remember the name of the fucking game, so it wasn't that good. It's that game, the third-person shooter one where there's like 4 characters co-op. It's being put out by published by Square Enix. Oh, it'll come to me. Or someone's screaming. Anyway, I predicted it as E3 to get announced like last year, and I got my prediction right. It was by People Can Fly or whatever the fuck that game's called. Now
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
We're going to find out now because it's like super important to
driving your
Outsiders is what the game's called. So, right. So Outsiders started doing their own version.
Really? That's the name of the game?
Yeah, the game's called Outsiders. Yeah. Did you know this?
Okay. No, it just sounds very generic.
So they did their first like stream thing, and they're doing the second one on July 2nd, and their things are called Outriders Broadcast Episode
Outriders.
2. Outriders Broadcast.
See, that's not as generic.
But what their first episode was a super generic dev diary thing. However, I think the thing is that I don't know who set the standard and like who changed the game, but everyone's just live streaming this shit now. And I don't really know why. And I think maybe it's because obviously everyone, including us, hypes the things up more in our heads and kind of expects more out of them. But that's how all these things are. Like I watched this first Outriders thing. It goes for half an hour. All they do is they talk about the combat and they show up some new gameplay. Nothing mind-blowing. It was the same level I saw in the reveal trailer, but they did show some more straight-up gameplay. They showed off they zoned in on one character class, explained what that character class did. It went for like half an hour. I was like, yeah, this is cool. However, like a year ago, this would have just been uploaded to YouTube. Now it's on twitch.tv/Square Enix. And that's where they're doing the second one. They're live streaming them. I don't know who changed the game. Like who... Is it just because of COVID, or was there a shift in the balance somewhere?
I think it's just how the streaming phenomenon has happened. More things are quote unquote more accessible and alive, and are made into events now. Where
because you can even wrap in this Pokemon thing this week, like why was that live streamed?
Things are made into quote unquote events now, where this is happening live at this time, even if it's just a video that they're pressing play. This premieres at this time. It's like having a premiere for a movie where it's like, well, it's coming out in this time. Why is it coming out now? It's just. I mean,
the only like sort of reference I can think to make the reason everyone likes these things live stream more, like to tie in my because I'm obviously
it's not live stream.
Their streams, they're premieres, they're stream live,
video.
Whatever. Like on YouTube, they're straight up called premieres, right? On Twitch, they press play, but they're not called premieres. It's just they're going live and they press play. Whatever, however you want to word it. The only other thing that I can kind of think of that I never really understood, but I've seen people complain about is to tie back to wrestling, because I'm now a huge wrestling fan, right? Just for a second. AEW does Dark, right? Which is their YouTube weekly series that they do for free on YouTube. Now they premiere those episodes, and for 2 to 3 weeks there, they weren't able to premiere them for some reason. And whenever I looked in the comments, there were nearly all of the comments were just people complaining. When are you going back to premiering these? When are you going back? And I didn't get it because I was like, why? Why does it matter? And the reason all these people were upset is because they want to be there in the moment, watching live, commenting with their friends and fellow AEW fans, commenting live to what's happening. And that must be something they enjoy doing and live reacting to it, even though it's not actually live. It's just a premiered video. So I guess maybe people get the same sort of thing out of the game videos, where it's like, could the Outriders broadcast go straight to YouTube and it's not premiered? Yes. But if they do premiere it, does it bring more attention? Do people enjoy chatting at the same time? I think there's like obviously a communal aspect to it, especially when everyone's locked at home, I guess. Like it's a chance for everyone to get in their chat and shit talk and have fun together at the same time, I guess. But it's like, that's because I don't really get it. Like I watch these things live. I stay up to when they go. Like obviously the Cyberpunk thing was 2 a.m. I stayed up. I watched that. I would have happily just clicked on a YouTube video and not have to deal with the chat pissing me off on the side, even though I'm trying to ignore it but can't help myself but look at it like it's a fucking train wreck. I'm not there to comment though, but obviously some people enjoy like reacting live. And then of course you get all the Twitch streamers that do react live. They film this, do the live react stuff to it. So I guess there's it's just a whole different thing. But my point for all this was to tie it back. All of these are just bigger versions of developer diaries that used to just go straight to fucking YouTube. or straight to websites. For the history of as long as I've been able to access the internet and cared about games, people for most games in the lead up to their release, unless they're like huge AAA things where they don't want to release any details, have always put out like lead up longer videos that broke down gameplay mechanics and story beats and what have you. And that's all these are. And somewhere along the line, we've all started hyping them up to be expecting them all to be E3 level things. And if Ash wants to blame Jeff Keighley, sure. He ain't listening to this, so let's blame him. If you want to blame someone,
yeah, Jeff. World exclusives. It's all Jeff's fault. But that anime looks cool. That could be interesting.
I hate you, actually.
But that anime looks cool. It's great.
Yeah, it does look cool.
What about it looks cool, Ashley?
Just the art style, the world. All the things that are also interesting about the game.
What's that? I was about to say my other like side tangent note was going to be when I was watching, the music was reminding me of that first person Cyberpunk thing I wrote the preview for. What the fuck is that game called? I can't find it fast enough, so that's not very helpful. I talked about it on here. It's like called Ghost something. Ghost Runner.
It was like,
I think that's it.
Ghost Runner, that was it, yeah.
Yeah, go download the demo for that if it's still available and play that shit, Karen, because that's basically, it's not Cyberpunk, but it's a Cyberpunk game where the music in the game sounds exactly like the type of shit that you're talking about here. We're like, oh, the fucking industrial feel or whatever. That'll do it for this week's episode of Arcade Couch. You can of course, find us all on Twitter by heading to explosionnetwork.com/Twitter. You can let us know on Twitter how you felt about hottakes.com. You can mail at explosionnetwork.com.
Is that available?
Yeah, sure, maybe. With the subject line, Arcade Couch.
It should be. Ash, you should snap that up.
Grab that shit for $5. We will see you here next week. Same time, same couch. Till then, bye. Hey, don't forget you can subscribe to the show wherever you're currently listening, and you can drop a review if you can. Find more great shows like this and more content over at explosionnetwork.com, and please consider supporting us for as little as $1 over on our Ko-fi page by heading to explosionnetwork.com/support. Thanks for listening.